While other kids were still wetting the bed, my daughter Lily was already riding a golden-furred mountain tiger named Tank through Whispering Pines Ridge to school like it was no big deal, her tiny backpack stuffed not with snacks or crayons but with venomous creatures that would make a seasoned zookeeper pass out. That morning, she arrived at Greenhill Preschool with Jade, her shiny green pit viper, coiled calmly around her neck. She walked through the front gate like a queen, her tiger buddy waiting outside like a chauffeur, and within minutes, chaos had already erupted. Ava Monroe, a famous livestream host from Kids and Joy, was at the school for a feel-good segment, giving away free toys to the kids. But when she handed a sparkly plastic wand to Lily, my little girl stared at her like she was insulting her intelligence, pouted, and said in her sugary voice, "Miss Ava, your toys are fake. Jade is more fun." And just like that, she reached into her bag and pulled out a real, live, tongue-flicking, cold-blooded green viper and held it up like she was showing off a Barbie doll. Ava's scream could have cracked the internet. And it did. The live stream exploded. At first, people thought it was a prank toy snake with a flickering tongue. But then a certified herpetologist watching the stream commented, "That's not a toy. That's a real bamboo pit viper. Highly venomous." That was the moment things really spiraled. The kids, bless their fearless hearts, actually crowded around Lily asking to pet the snake. "Can I hold it? It's so pretty. Will it bite?" All while the teachers' faces went from pale to, "This is how I die." One brave teacher, Ms. Thompson, tried to intervene, yelling for the kids to step back, but Lily just smiled and said, "Don't worry, Jade's super sweet. She won't bite." Then she held her hand right in front of the snake's mouth to prove it. Everyone including Ava went silent. The live chat was blowing up. "OMG, stop this, call the cops, why am I sweating?" But Jade, that freakishly obedient snake, just slithered calmly from Lily's arm to her head and coiled on her like a leafy crown. That would have been enough trauma for one day, but not for my daughter. When Ava, barely breathing, tried to back away, Lily cheerfully added, "Wait, there's more," and pulled out Shadow, a full-sized cobra. "I'm not kidding." Shadow uncoiled, hissed, raised its head, and instantly put everyone in a horror movie. Ms. Thompson almost passed out, and Ava looked like she was 2 seconds from retirement. And yet, Lily just giggled and said, "Shadow, don't scare people. Be nice." And would you believe it? The cobra freaking lowered its head and nudged her hand like a shy puppy. Ava couldn't even speak. Lily beamed and said, "Wanna play with Shadow too?" Ava shook her head so fast she looked like a bobblehead in a blender. But Lily wasn't done showing off. "Miss Ava, you don't have to be shy. Shadow likes new friends." And before anyone could stop her, she motioned for the cobra to go over. Shadow obeyed. Slithered. Climbed. And in seconds, the cold, slick weight of a cobra wrapped itself around Ava's trembling shoulders. The livestream chat went thermonuclear. "Is this real? Someone call an exorcist. Ava is dead, OMG." But Lily, cool as ever, reassured her with the gentlest smile, "Don't be scared. Shadow is just saying hi." Ava, bless her soul, was frozen like a deer on a highway. And just as the teachers were about to faint from panic, Lily reached into her backpack again. I swear to you, she pulled out a second snake. This time it was a thick, dark-scaled viper with its hood half raised and a gaze like it knew it was royalty. Lily smiled and said, "This is King. He's a little shy, but he listens well." At this point, even the bravest teacher was leaning against the wall whispering prayers. The kids? Still fascinated. One girl even asked if she could braid the snake's tail. Meanwhile, Ava was stuck in a silent scream with a cobra around her neck and another snake inching toward her hairline. Lily, proud and unfazed, stood there like a tiny boss. "Miss Ava, it's okay. They're just playing." And when mess. Thompson finally managed to whisper, "Lily, sweetie, maybe put the snakes away please." Lily tilted her head, thought for a moment, then said, "Okay." But instead of packing them back up, she flipped open her backpack and dumped it on the table. And that's when the real chaos started. Because out tumbled not just Jade and Shadow and King, but also 3 coral snakes, 2 giant centipedes with twitching legs, a shiny black scorpion waving its pincers like it was ready to duel, and a whole army of creepy, crawly, venomous horrors that looked like they came from a cursed rainforest. The room exploded into panic. The teachers screamed. Ava made a sound like a broken clarinet. The live chat was like, "I can't breathe, this is hell, why is this kid a Bond villain?" MS. Thompson tried to usher the kids out, but Lily calmly clapped her hands and said, "Line up, everyone." And this is the part that made everyone question reality. The snakes and bugs obeyed. They actually formed a line. Like a literal single-file line. And marched. Behind Lily. In sync. While she walked in front, giving them orders like she was their general. The whole room froze in disbelief. The kids stared wide-eyed. The teachers couldn't even scream anymore. The stream's comments section looked like the end of the world. One user wrote, "These creatures have been to military school." Another typed, "She's the real Snow White, but with venom." Ava, barely upright, clutched the wall and whispered, Is she even human?" And honestly, I couldn't blame her. Because that was just the beginning. And yeah, there's more. Way more. Everyone in that preschool was losing their minds, and I don't blame them. You've got a 3-year-old walking through Greenhill Preschool with an army of venomous snakes, bugs, and scorpions like she's leading a deadly Disney parade, and those creatures are actually listening to her. They were marching in line behind her like disciplined soldiers, no chaos, no snapping, just eerie obedience. MS. Thompson and the other teachers were freaking out, but they were also too scared to do anything. I mean, how do you stop a toddler who controls a jungle's worth of poisonous nightmares? Ava Monroe was still standing stiff with that bamboo green snake Jade curled on her shoulders like a fashion accessory from hell. The teachers, after regaining a sliver of sanity, came up with a desperate plan: close the classroom doors, seal every gap, and trap the creatures inside until the fire department arrives. So, while Lily was busy strolling around the classroom like a general inspecting her troops, the teachers rushed to shut all the windows and doors. MS. Thompson called out as sweetly as she could, "Lily, honey, can your little friend stay in the classroom for a bit while we talk outside?" Lily looked at her, tilted her head, scratched her ear, and nodded like she was being generous. "Okay, they'll play in here. I'll wait outside." As soon as Lily skipped out of the classroom with a proud grin on her face, the teachers slammed the door shut like they were sealing off a biohazard lab. They even pushed bookshelves against it and blocked the vents with wet towels. I swear, they looked like they were trying to survive a zombie outbreak. The room fell silent. Everyone finally took a deep breath, but not for long. Lily suddenly frowned and asked, "Teacher, why did you close the door?" "My friends haven't come out yet." MS. Thompson went full damage control mode, stammering, "Sweetie, it's because some people are scared of your friends. So, let them rest inside for now, okay?" Lily blinked her big eyes and nodded. "All right," she said cheerfully, then added with terrifying enthusiasm, "That's okay. I still have one more friend who didn't come yet. I'll call Jayagayatu." The moment she said that, the air changed. From the forest nearby came a deep, earth-shaking hiss, followed by the emergence of a massive 5 to 6 meter long king cobra, slithering with its hood raised high and eyes scanning like a heat-seeking missile. People froze. You could hear a pin drop. Security guards stumbled backward and dropped their batons. Ava let out a broken sound, like her soul left her body. One of the teachers whispered, "Oh my God, she brought a freaking king cobra." The live stream viewers were panicking. Comments were flying faster than bullets. She called a boss monster, run. Just run, this isn't a kid, this is a villain or a demigod. The king cobra slithered forward with power and purpose, but instead of attacking, it slithered right up to Lily and gently rubbed its head against her like a cat. She clapped her hands and said sweetly, "You came. Did you miss me?" and hugged the massive snake like it was her teddy bear. I could feel Ava and Ms. Thompson dying inside. Ava whispered, "Did she just hug a king cobra?" and Ms. Thompson was already mouthing prayers. Lily then turned toward the teachers and said, "This is King. He's my bestest friend. Don't worry, he's very polite." The cobra king tilted its massive head and looked directly at Ava, tongue flicking. Everyone stiffened. Lily continued, "Miss Ava, you shook hands with Jade and Shadow, so you're friends now. Wanna shake hands with King too?" Ava didn't answer. She was too frozen with fear. That didn't stop Lily from guiding the cobra over, and King slowly slithered toward Ava like he was on a mission. The ground vibrated. Ava dropped to her knees, almost sobbing, "Please, please, I don't want to play anymore." But Lily, chipper as always, insisted, "Don't be shy. He's really nice." Ms. Thompson stepped in quickly, voice shaking, "Lily, sweetheart, maybe King can stay next to you. Miss Ava's had enough excitement today." Lily pouted like she was being unfairly treated, then perked up again and said, "That's okay. I still have more friends." Everyone's blood ran cold. Ava croaked, "More." And sure enough, Lily started digging into her backpack again. Everyone screamed, "No." But it was too late. She pulled out more snakes. More bugs. Even a black and white coral snake. Then she dumped the rest of her bag, and what came out was like a horror film prop: closet scorpions, centipedes, beetles, all calmly wriggling out and taking formation around her tiny feet. Ms. Thompson and Ava backed away so fast they nearly knocked over the supply cabinet. A kid in the back asked, "Can I touch that one?" while everyone else was trying not to pass out. The firefighters hadn't arrived yet, but honestly, what could they do? That's when Lily decided to take her creatures for a walk. She led them around the playground in rows, like a general leading an insect infantry. The cobra was coiled around her like armor, and she waved at everyone cheerfully, "Don't be scared. They're my friends. They won't bite." And horrifyingly, she was right. None of them did. At that point, the firefighters finally arrived: Officer Blake and Officer Scott, who apparently knew Lily from a past incident. They approached slowly, hands raised like they were trying not to spook a wild animal. "Hey Lily, good to see you again," Blake said, his smile nervous. "You brought your friends out to play again, huh?" Lily nodded. "They missed everyone." Ms. Thompson rushed over, nearly in tears. Please take care of this. She has venomous snakes and scorpions." She brought a king cobra, but Blake raised a hand and whispered, "Ma'am, we've tried before. It's complicated." Ms. Thompson blinked. "What do you mean complicated?" Officer Scott looked haunted. "Let's just say, we once tried to take her snakes away and ended up surrounded by 20 of them. They hissed like they were ready to riot. If her dad hadn't shown up that day, we might still be stuck in that forest." Ms. Thompson's jaw dropped. "So what, you're just going to leave her with them?" Blake sighed, "Honestly, we can't stop her. We can't even find her dad half the time. It's better to just keep her happy." That's when Lily walked up to them and pouted. "Uncle Blake, Uncle Scott, you're not gonna catch my friends again, right?" The two firefighters looked at each other and practically bowed. "No, sweetheart. We were just saying hi." Lily smiled, satisfied. "Good. They don't like cages." Ava was sitting in the corner, eyes glazed, whispering, "She's not human. She's not real. This is a nightmare." Meanwhile, Lily turned back toward the door of the now sealed classroom and said cheerfully, "Okay Jade, Shadow, King, you can come out now." She didn't even open the door. The snakes just slipped through the gaps like magic, slithering straight toward her, calm and obedient. She hugged King's head again and kissed him. The live stream chat went feral. "I need therapy, someone call a priest, this girl's friends just walked through solid doors." MS. Thompson, finally snapping, muttered, "That's it. I'm going to her house. I need to meet her parents." Ava, now emotionally destroyed but still breathing, nodded. "Yeah. Let's go see where this little snake queen comes from." Lily lit up. "You want to visit my house? Yay. I'll show you more friends." That's when everyone should have known, things were about to get way worse. Because when Lily says, "more friends," she doesn't mean dolls or puppies. She means creatures that should be extinct, illegal, or in a locked cage somewhere in a federal facility. And the worst part? We hadn't even met her real pets yet. Honestly, if someone had told me that agreeing to a home visit would lead to a face-off with a literal tiger, I would have laughed and said, "What is this, a cartoon?" But here we were, MS. Thompson, Ava Monroe, and a handful of shell-shocked preschool staff following a cheerful 3-year-old named Lily through Whispering Pines Ridge like lambs to the slaughter. After surviving snakes, scorpions, and a king cobra parade, you'd think we'd earned a break. Nope. As we trudged up a narrow dirt trail toward what Lily insisted was, just around the corner, we realized something terrifying. This kid really did walk all the way through a forested mountain path every day to get to Greenhill Preschool. No rides. No adult supervision. No shoes with GPS. Just her tiny legs and, apparently, a rotating squad of apex predators as her Uber. MS. Thompson, finally connecting the dots, gasped, "Lily, do you walk this entire way by yourself?" And Lily, clutching her stuffed rabbit like it was a sidekick, chirped, "No, silly. My friends carry me." That's when we should have run. Ava, already 10 years older from stress, was starting to catch on. "Wait, you mean the snakes?" Lily shook her head like we were dumb. "No. That would be too bumpy. Tank carries me." "Tank?" we all asked at once. "He's my big golden kitty," Lily answered, as if that explained anything. At that exact moment, a low, earth-rattling growl echoed through the trees, followed by the thunderous crack of branches snapping like twigs. Then came the tiger. Not a stuffed one. Not a caged zoo animal. A real, breathing, king of the jungle level Bengal tiger, golden-furred with black stripes like brushstrokes, head the size of a motorcycle helmet, eyes focused directly on us like it was picking appetizers. Ava screamed. MS. Thompson screamed louder. And I just froze. Because what do you even do when a freaking tiger emerges from the trees, walking like it owns the forest? Lily lit up with joy, waved, and shouted, "Tank," and the tiger's entire demeanor flipped from apex predator to purring golden retriever. It bounded up to her like an overgrown puppy, rubbed its massive head against her, and let out a soft chuff that somehow made it even scarier. Then it did the unthinkable, it licked her cheek. Loudly. Sloppily. Lily scrunched her nose, giggled, and said, "Tank. Your breath stinks again. You forgot to brush your teeth." I watched a 3-year-old scold a tiger for poor hygiene while the rest of us contemplated whether this was a shared hallucination or some top-secret government experiment gone rogue. Ava nearly passed out on a tree stump. MS. Thompson whispered, "We're going to die in the woods." Lily, of course, was in heaven. "This is Tank. He takes me to school when I'm sleepy." Then she turned to us, dead serious, and added, "You can pet him." He likes making new friends. The look on Ms. Thompson's face said it all. She would rather crawl through a pit of scorpions than lay a finger on that beast. Ava slowly backed away like she was avoiding eye contact with death itself. But Lily didn't notice our horror. She was too busy giving Tank belly rubs and telling him how much she missed him. Then, in the most cursed moment of my life, she turned to Ava and said, "Miss Ava, do you want to shake hands with Tank? You already shook hands with Shadow and King." Ava's soul left her body on the spot. Her knees buckled. Ms. Thompson grabbed her arm like, "You're not leaving me here alone." But Lily, full of innocent enthusiasm, grabbed Ava's hand and before anyone could stop her plopped it directly into the outstretched paw of the tiger. Time stopped. Ava stopped breathing. Ms. Thompson looked ready to file a lawsuit against nature itself. But Tank, that oversized house cat in disguise, just gently closed his paw around her hand like he knew the rules of human etiquette. Ava didn't scream. She didn't faint. She just stood there, locked in a stare with a tiger who had better manners than half the people on the internet. Lily beamed. "See? Told you he's nice." Ms. Thompson, who probably aged 5 years in 30 seconds, took a shaky breath and said, "Okay. That's good. That's very good. Please don't ever do that again." But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because Lily, in her infinite joy, suddenly gasped and said, "Wait. Tank can't carry all of you. We need more friends." Before we could say no, before we could lie and say we liked hiking, before we could fake a twisted ankle or pretend to faint, Lily turned toward the forest and yelled, "Xiaozhuang. Tiny. Big head. Come out." The ground started vibrating. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally. Low growls rose in the distance. Trees rustled. Leaves scattered. And then, like a scene from a nightmare documentary, tiger after tiger stepped out of the underbrush. 10 of them. Golden, striped, massive. All of them. Calm. Silent. Watching us. I heard someone whisper, "This is how it ends," and for a second, I agreed. Lily clapped her hands, overjoyed. "Now we can all ride." I wanted to cry. I think Ms. Thompson did cry. Ava mumbled, "I should have gone to dental school." The tigers walked up and circled around Lily like royal guards. She introduced each one like a proud kid showing off Pokemon cards. "That's Bighead's kind of grumpy. That's Tiny's the fastest. And that Spot Eye likes ear scratches." Ms. Thompson whispered to me, "Do you think if we just lie down and play dead, they'll ignore us?" I didn't know. I didn't care. I just nodded like an idiot. Lily climbed up on Tank's back like she'd done it 1,000 times, which she probably hadn't said, "Let's go. Who wants to ride with me?" No one answered. Because riding a tiger wasn't on any of our bucket lists. But Lily took our silence as enthusiasm. "Yay. Ms. Ava, you can ride Bighead. Teacher Thompson, Tiny will be perfect for you." The tigers stepped forward, slowly lowering themselves like furry buses at a jungle safari. Ms. Thompson whispered, "She's assigning us rides. Like they're Ubers." Ava was trembling so hard her smartwatch started sending health alerts. Lily didn't notice. She was too busy swinging her legs and pointing the direction home. "It's not far now. Let's go." And with that, Tank began walking, Lily on his back, surrounded by a procession of jungle beasts that looked like they'd stepped out of an ancient prophecy. Ava and Ms. Thompson, with 0 options left, climbed up in pure terror. The moment their hands touched fur, they flinched like they were handling explosives. But the tigers didn't flinch. They just waited patiently, then started padding forward like they were trained for this exact scenario. The trail wound deeper into the woods, and I started wondering if maybe just maybe you weren't heading to a normal house. Maybe Lily didn't come from any ordinary home. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't even about school anymore. And that's when Lily turned around from Tank's back and yelled, "Wait until you meet Midnight and the others. They're really excited to see new people." MS. Thompson nearly fell off her tiger. Ava looked like she was about to throw herself into a bush. Midnight? Who the hell is Midnight? I didn't know. But judging from the tigers pacing beside us and the fact that Lily's definition of friend included everything from deadly snakes to full-grown jungle cats, I was pretty sure Midnight wasn't going to be a goldfish. And unfortunately for us, we were almost there. The thing about realizing too late that you've made a terrible decision is that by the time your brain catches up with your survival instinct, your body is already riding a tiger through a forest toward God knows what, and in this case, what waited ahead was Lily's mysterious home somewhere deep in Whispering Pines Ridge, so far out that not even GPS dared to show roads anymore, and the deeper we went, the more I started to understand just how insane this whole thing had become, because here we were, three adults clinging to the backs of wild tigers that acted like chauffeured ponies, with Lily bouncing on Tank like she was on a theme park ride, cheerfully giving us updates like, "We're almost there, just past those 2 mountains and across that river," while MS. Thompson's hands were clenched so tightly into Tiny's fur that her knuckles turned ghost white, and Ava kept whispering under her breath, "This is a lawsuit, this is a full-blown lawsuit," and I would have laughed if I weren't too busy calculating how fast a tiger could launch me into the afterlife, and just when I thought it couldn't get weirder, Lily shouted back, "I'll let you meet Midnight and the others soon." Which sent a chill down all our spines, because if Tank and his tiger crew were the warm-up act, what the hell was Midnight and the others? And yeah, I was terrified, but I couldn't stop watching her, this little girl who spoke to apex predators like they were old roommates and who looked at venomous snakes the way most kids looked at gummy bears, and it hit met his wasn't some phase or weird hobby, this was her life, and as we crested the second ridge, the trees opened up to reveal a clearing so surreal it felt staged. Like a fantasy postcard gone rogue, a cabin stood at the center made of dark wood, nestled against the cliffside with giant vines curling around the porch, and near the edge of the property was a waterfall crashing into a crystal-clear pool, but the most insane part wasn't the landscape, it was the creatures, because scattered across the clearing were at least a dozen more animals, wolves lounging under trees like house dogs, a lynx napping in a hammock, an eagle perched calmly on the porch rail, and in the shadows near the cabin, I could swear I saw the gleam of reptilian eyes blinking in sync, and Lily waved to them all like they were relatives at a family barbecue. "Hi friends. I brought guests," she yelled, and they responded. The wolves perked up, the lynx meowed, even the eagle gave a flap and a screech like it was saluting her, and Tank roared once, deep and echoing, as if announcing their return, and the tigers lined up in front of the porch and crouched low, letting us slide off onto the ground. Will, more like collapse from shock, because Ava could barely stand in a mess. Thompson just sat down in the dirt like her legs gave out, and I was no better, staring at the cabin like it might explode into a full-blown zoo at any moment, but Lily was already hopping up the steps shouting, "Daddy! I brought Miss Ava and my teacher. They want to meet everyone," and we all froze again because finally we're about to meet the mythical Mr. Carter, the man behind all of this, the dad who apparently thought it was totally okay for his daughter to walk around with cobras and ride tigers to school, and for a moment, there was only the sound of rushing water and distant animal calls, until the front door creaked open and out stepped a man in his early 40s, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a flannel shirt and calm expression like he'd just come back from chopping firewood, but when his eyes landed on us, there was a flicker of recognition, or was it amusement, and he smiled faintly and said, "Ah, visitors, like this happened every weekend," and Lily ran up to him and hugged his leg. "They're really nice, Daddy." They even shook hands with Tank, and Mr. Carter raised an eyebrow and looked at us like, "You survived that?" and Ava, who had recovered just enough to stand, blurted, "Sir, with all due respect, what kind of place is this?" and that's when he laughed, not mocking, but honest, like he knew exactly how insane this looked and didn't blame us one bit. "It's home," he said simply, "and Lily's friends are family," and I stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Sir, your daughter brought multiple venomous snakes, a king cobra, and a whole tiger squad to Preschool. You understand how dangerous that is, but Mr. Carter's face didn't change. "I understand, yes. But not for her. Lily was raised here. These animals trust her. They obey her. They protect her," and Ava sputtered, "That's not the point. What if another child got bit? What if we got hurt?" And for a moment, his eyes narrowed, not threatening, but cold, like ice behind calm water. "They would not. Lily knows the difference. And so do her friends," and I realized then that he meant it. He had full faith in this wild ecosystem they lived in, like it wasn't a risk but a bond. And Lily, skipping in circles with the lynx now rubbing against her legs, shouted, "Daddy, can they meet midnight now?" And that's when everything got 10 times worse, because Mr. Carter paused, then gave a single nod, and Lily cupped her hands around her mouth and yelled toward the trees, "Midnight! Come out!" And from the shadows beneath the cliff, something massive, Mavita rumbling like thunder, followed by the heavy steps of something big, and the animals, all of them, fell silent, even the tigers, even the wolves, and then it emerged, Midnight, a panther so large and black it looked like a living shadow, with eyes that glowed violet in the fading light and muscles rippling under every step, and the moment it saw Lily, it purred a low, terrifying sound that shook my ribs and walked directly to her, brushing its sleek body against her like a house cat, and Lily giggled and wrapped her arms around its neck. "This is Midnight. He's the quietest one," and Ava muttered, "Of course he is," and Ms. Thompson, who had regained enough breath to speak, whispered, I don't know what to say anymore," and I couldn't blame her, because this wasn't just a home visit anymore. This was a portal into a different world, where a child played with death and never got scratched, where animals bowed to her like royalty, and her father acted like it was just a normal Thursday afternoon. And then, as if to hammer in how far gone we were, Lily turned to us and said brightly, "Do you want to come inside and meet the rest of them?" And that's when I knew we were nowhere near the end of this nightmare, because if what we'd seen so far were the friendly ones, I had no idea what was waiting behind that front door. Walking through that front door felt like stepping into the jaws of a fairy tale that had been rewritten by someone who binged too many survival documentaries and decided, what if the child wasn't the victim but the boss? Because as soon as Lily opened the cabin door and waved us in with that impossibly sweet smile, I had a full-body fight-or-flight moment where every cell screamed to turn back, but my feet kept moving, and Ms. Thompson, still pale as a ghost, and Ava, whose 1,000-yard stare now came standard, trailed close behind me into what might as well have been a different dimension. And I'm not exaggerating, because the inside of the Carter cabin wasn't the rustic, cozy mountain lodge I expected. Oh no, it was part jungle biome, part National Geographic HQ, and part witch's den. The living room lined with glass tanks that shimmered with faint bioluminescence, one housing a black widow the size of my hand, another with a snake that looked more ancient than any species I knew, and up above, massive beam-supported perches where falcons and owls watched us with quiet intensity like sentinels waiting for a command, and in the corner, the soft gurgle of a terrarium stream whispered beneath the hum of overhead lights set on a strange, artificial cycle that made everything glow slightly blue. And I don't know what was more surreal, the fact that none of these animals were caged, or the fact that they all just watched Lily like she was the sun and they were planets orbiting her gravity. And then she said the most horrifying sentence I've ever heard from a preschooler, "Do you want to see where the venom lives?" Ava coughed so hard she nearly choked, and Ms. Thompson instinctively took a step back, but Lily was already skipping toward a narrow hallway lined with hanging vines, completely unfazed by the collective trauma she was casually dragging us through, and like idiots on autopilot, we followed, because by now we knew saying no would only make things worse. And halfway down the hallway, I caught sight of a door that had a thick steel lock, massive, industrial, bolted in 6 different directions. And just as I was wondering if that was maybe the one responsible adult decision in this entire building, Mr. Carter appeared behind us like a ghost and said casually, "That's not to keep the creatures in, that's to keep people out," which didn't help my blood pressure at all. And when I asked, "Out of what exactly?" he smiled and said, "Lily's sanctuary," and then opened another door across the hall, leading into what could only be described as a personal jungle ecosystem complete with foggy mist, high canopy plants, and a temperature that immediately made me sweat, and there, on carefully arranged perches and branches, were the rest of Lily's friends, massive lizards, serpents as thick as my thigh, tarantulas the size of dinner plates, and creatures I didn't even recognize but instinctively knew could kill a grown man in under 10 seconds, and they all perked up the moment she walked in, slithered closer, stretched their legs, coiled tighter, whatever they did to show they were happy to see her, and I swear on everything holy, one of the spiders literally waved a leg like it was saying hi. And Lily was right in the center, spinning slowly in a circle with her arms out like she was doing a ballet recital, announcing names like, "That Spindle, he's shy. And over there is Acid, don't get too close, he spits," and I was so busy trying not to pass out that I barely noticed Ava whispering, "Why isn't she scared of any of this?" And that's when Mr. Carter finally gave us the explanation we didn't realize we were dreading. Lily was born in this forest. Her mother. She was a researcher, a naturalist. This land used to be her field lab, and when Lily was still a baby, she started reacting to animals differently. They didn't bite. They didn't run. They listened, and Ms. Thompson asked, "So you just let her collect them?" And he shook his head, "I didn't let her. They chose her. They come to her. They protect her. And in return, she protects them." And I looked around the room full of death-on-legs bowing to a toddler and realized that whatever strange gift Lily had, it wasn't something learned, it was something innate, and Mr. Carter continued, "We've had people come before. Biologists. Journalists. Government men. They didn't believe it either. They asked too many questions. Some tried to take samples. The animals didn't like that, and his eyes went quiet after that, and Ava, brave or stupid, asked, "What happened to them?" and Mr. Carter didn't answer immediately, just walked over to a nearby shelf, pulled down a faded photo of a woman holding a baby Lily surrounded by snakes and birds and smiled wistfully. "The forest decides who stays," and no one spoke after that, because how do you respond to someone who just casually implied that your life depends on whether or not you're considered a threat by a group of wild apex predators? And just as I was thinking we should politely excuse ourselves and never speak of this again, Lily said brightly, "You should stay for dinner. Midnight's bringing something special," and before we could process what that meant, the front door creaked open and in padded the jet-black panther, tail swishing lazily, dragging a massive fresh kill in its jaws, some kind of deer, maybe a wild boar, we weren't sure because Ava had already spun around and ran straight into the kitchen gagging. Mess. Thompson sat down and looked like she was dissociating into the floor, and I just stood there, numb, wondering how this all started with a live-stream toy giveaway and ended with me watching a little girl thank a predator for delivering dinner like it was pizza, and the most terrifying part. Lily was polite. She made plates. She asked if we liked rice or bread. She offered us herbal tea. And all around us, the creatures lounged, calm, watching, waiting, but never threatening, just present, like this was all completely normal, like we weren't guests but intruders who had been tolerated because of Lily's mercy, and when we finally said we needed to go, Ava practically begging to leave before another creature emerged. Mr. Carter walked us to the edge of the clearing with Tank and 2 other tigers ready to escort us back down the trail, and Lily ran up and hugged each of us goodbye, even pressing a flower into Ava's hand and saying, "You were brave. Midnight likes you," which somehow made Ava cry more, and before we left, Lily looked up at me with those impossibly calm eyes and said, "Don't be scared next time. You're part of the forest now," and I swear for a moment I felt something cold and slithering under my shirt, but when I looked, there was nothing, just the echo of rustling leaves and the flicker of reptilian eyes vanishing into the canopy behind her smile. We left Whispering Pines Ridge thinking we could go back to normal, that once we got off those tigers and returned to pavement, phone signals, and the dull hum of city life, everything we'd seen in that cursed cabin would just become an unbelievable memory, like a weird fever dream no one would ever believe even if we had tried to explain it, which we didn't, at first, because how exactly do you tell someone, "Hey, We met a 3-year-old who tames cobras, commands a tiger gang, and has a panther for a delivery boy. You don't, not if you want to keep your job, your sanity, or your social credibility, so Ms. Thompson filed the home visit paperwork as routine follow-up. Family resides in remote area, student emotionally well-adjusted, and Ava took a break from her live stream gigs, citing stress and needing to reset her brand, while I tried not to think about it, because the truth was, every time I closed my eyes, I saw that last look Lily gave us, those calm, ancient eyes in a toddler's face, and heard her voice echo in my head, "You're part of the forest now," and at first I laughed it off, because sure, creepy kid says something ominous, that's just trauma talking, right? But then things started happening, little things, strange things, like Ava called me one night hyperventilating because she swore she saw a black snake curled around her balcony railing, but by the time she grabbed her phone to take a picture, it was gone, not even a scale left behind, and Ms. Thompson started hearing animal sounds outside her apartment window despite living on the 9th floor, and as for me, I found a tiger's paw print in the dirt outside my house in the middle of the suburbs, with no zoos or preserves within 50 miles, and still I tried to rationalize, because that's what adults do, we explain away the impossible to avoid breaking our reality in half. Until one day I came home and found a folded note stuck to my front door with a single word written in crayon, "Hi," and inside was a pressed flower, the same kind Lily had given Ava before we left, and I knew, deep in my gut, that she had been here, not in a malicious way, not threatening, but present, like a reminder that no matter how far we ran from those mountains, we were already claimed, already catalogued by that unspoken forest law that Lily ruled without even knowing it, and it wasn't just us either. Because soon the rumors started popping up online, viral posts about strange sightings in the area, a massive shadow spotted on a dashcam leaping across a highway at night, animal rescue teams reporting multiple cases of highly venomous snakes curled up peacefully next to babies in cribs but leaving without a bite, a hiker who swore a panther pulled him out of a pit and vanished before he could say thanks, and every single time, the witnesses described the same thing, large intelligent eyes, a feeling of calm right before the encounter, and always the scent of wildflowers. And then the whispers started, the internet's favorite pastime paranormal forums calling her, the beastling, the whisper child, snake princess, whatever they could brand her with, but none of them knew what we knew, that she wasn't some cryptid or anomaly or alien plant experiment gone wrong. She was Lily, a little girl who smiled at creatures most people scream at, who poured tea for cobras and scolded tigers for bad breath. And if the world was changing around her, it wasn't because she wanted power, it was because nature had already crowned her, and we were just along for the ride. So when Ava called me again, voice shaking, and said, she visited me, I didn't question it, I just asked, did she bring a friend? And Ava broke down crying, not because she was scared, but because deep down, we both knew what it meant. She wasn't just checking in, she was expanding her circle, choosing people, linking them, building something none of us could understand yet, and the scary part. I wasn't even mad, because part of me missed her, missed that chaotic purity, that wild logic where love was earned by trust, and loyalty was measured in whether you could pet a cobra without flinching. And when I got another note a few days later, tucked under my windshield wiper this time, reading, "Midnight wants to play," I didn't call the police, I didn't call animal control, I just nodded to myself and went home early, made sure my door was unlocked, and waited, not because I was insane, but because by then I finally understood what Lily had meant when she said, "Don't be scared next time," because once you've stood in the heart of the forest with her creatures watching in perfect silence, once you've seen a child walk barefoot through venom and be kissed by death like it was family, you realize fear is a human invention, and Lily was something else entirely. So when I heard the soft padding of paws outside my house that night and the low purr vibrating against the windowpane, I didn't run, I opened the door, and smiled.